series of English for You. Before presenting helpful instructions on effective writing, let us first ask a question. Why is good writing important? Of course, if you just write to your friends, relatives, or family, your writing does not have to be exact or 100% correct. Although even among those close to us, we may find some people who get offended by a sloppy writing. Nevertheless, there are situations in life when the way we write must adhere to certain standards so as to achieve our desired goals. In addition, generally, there is a strong relationship between the way we write and the way we communicate orally. A classical example can be writing on your school exams. Your writing will be reviewed by professional teachers and constitute part of your grade. Yet there are other situations in life when your writing skills will be absolutely crucial. Let us take, for example, another situation when you will be looking for a job. First, you will need to contact a potential employer by writing a cover letter and attach a CV or resume. Your writing in this case will be a reflection of who you are, how much you know, and ultimately may lead to your being hired or rejected. Your writing skills will be valuable or even necessary on the job too. Depending on the type of work, you may need to write emails to other employees, managers, or customers. You may even need to email other organizations or legal entities. There is a host of other situations where good and effective writing is essential, and they are too numerous to mention in this video. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us get down to business and begin with the sentence structures. We will look at various components of a sentence, their order, and examples of how they are used. A simple sentence, also called an independent clause, has the following structure: subject, verb, object, place, and time. For example, the student reads books in the library after school. The subject is the student, reads is the verb, books is the object, in the library is the place, and after school is time. We can, however, put the time after school at the beginning of the sentence. So, after school, the student reads books in the library. This is the basic skeleton of an English sentence. We can, however, add pronouns or adjectives before nouns. In English, adjectives generally precede nouns, and adverbs that are typically placed before verbs. Also, object, place, and time may be optional in some cases. Here we have a more colorful example of this sentence using adjectives and adverbs. Our student often reads English books at or in the university library after school. Our is a possessive adjective. Student is a noun, in this case the subject. Often an adverb. Reads a verb. English an adjective. Books is another noun, in this case the object. At or in the university library is the place, and after school is time. Notice that in English we can place one noun before another noun. In this case, university is a noun and library is a noun. If, however, we place university before library, then university serves as an adjective. Now, let's take a look at a compound sentence. A compound sentence contains two independent clauses joined by a coordinator. The most common coordinators are such as follow: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Except for very short sentences, coordinators are always preceded by a comma. In the following compound sentences, subjects are in yellow, verbs are in green, and the coordinators and the commas that precede them are in red. Number 1, I tried to speak Spanish and my friend tried to speak English. Number 2, Alejandro played football, so Maria went shopping. Number 3, Alejandro played football, for Maria went shopping. In this last sentence, the word for is a synonym of because. Next, let's take a look at complex sentences. A complex sentence has an independent clause joined by one or more dependent clauses. A complex sentence always has a subordinator such as because, since, after, although, or when, and of course many others, or a relative pronoun such as that, who, or which. In the following examples, the independent clauses are in green and the dependent clauses are in yellow. Number 1, when he handed in his homework, that's the dependent clause, he forgot to give the teacher the last page. That's the independent clause. Number 2, the teacher returned the homework. Independent clause, after she noticed the error. Dependent clause. Number 3, the students are studying. Independent clause, because they have a test tomorrow. Dependent clause. Number 4, after they finished studying. Dependent clause, Juan and Maria went to the movies. Independent clause. Number 5, Juan and Maria went to the movies. Independent clause, after they finished studying. Dependent clause. When a complex sentence begins with a subordinator such as sentences 1 and 4, a comma is required at the end of the dependent clause. When the independent clause begins the sentence with a subordinator in the middle, as in sentences 2, 3, and 5, no comma is required. If a comma is placed before the subordinators in sentences 2, 3, and 5, it is wrong. Complex sentences and adjective clauses. Finally, sentences containing adjective clauses or dependent clauses are also complex because they contain an independent clause and a dependent clause, in which case the dependent clause is in the middle of an independent clause. In the following examples, the adjective clause, which is also a dependent clause, is in yellow, and the rest of the sentence that is in green is the independent clause. In other words, the adjective clause in these situations is embedded within the independent clause. Number 1, the woman who called my mom sells cosmetics. The part who called my mom is the adjective clause. Number 2, the book that Jonathan read is on the shelf. That Jonathan read is the adjective clause. Number 3. The house which Abraham Lincoln was born in is still standing. Which Abraham Lincoln was born in is the adjective clause. Number 4. The town where I grew up is in the United States. Where I grew up is the adjective clause. We can look at the adjective clause also as additional information to the subject. It also could be an additional information to the object if placed after the object. In these examples, we can see how independent clauses can be joined in one sentence. First sentence, Fernando left. Second sentence, Erica brushed her long black hair. In this case, we can join the two independent clauses into one sentence with a coordinating conjunction and. 1 and 2 together, Fernando left and Erica brushed her long black hair. Or we can join them together with a semicolon. Fernando left, Erica brushed her long black hair. We must remember that all sentences must have at least one independent clause. Also note that any of the coordinating conjunctions, such as and, but, for, nor, or, so, and yet, can be used to join an independent clause to another independent clause. But in formal writing, we should not place them at the beginning of a sentence.